G'day guys, my name's Dave Tren and welcome to another Throwback Thursday edition of a Guitar Zero to Hero song tutorial. And by request, today I'll be teaching you how to play Snuff by Slipknot. Now if you want to master your chords back to front, then be sure to head over to guitarzerotohero.com to pick up my free guitar ebook. Now for the basics of this song, you'll need your guitar in standard tuning and you'll need a capo on the 3rd fret of your guitar. Now I am aware that in the recorded version, Slipknot actually down-tune their guitars. They down-tune their guitars by 3 semitones, so it's really low. I don't really recommend you do it on your acoustic guitar unless you're experienced with setting up your guitar and restringing it and all that, because you will risk breaking your strings if you tune down and then you need to tune back up to standard tuning. So this is the easiest way of playing it in standard tuning and with the capo on the 3rd fret of your guitar. So let's start with verse 1, and it's really nice and easy. There's just a 4-chord chord progression that we're going to play. We have E minor, and then we're going to play a G/B. To play a G/B, it's exactly the same as a G chord, except you're not going to be hitting that top 6th string. That should be muted, and you should only hit the 5th string onwards. That is your bass note, the 5th string. That's G/B, and then we have C, and then we go back to a G/B. So that's our 4-chord chord progression for this verse. Now there's no real strumming pattern, but the timing for these chords is going to be important. If our timing count goes 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and then we're going to start with our E minor on the 1 beat, and we're going to change to the G/B on the E beat after the 4. So that will sound like this. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and so it's on that E beat after the 4. It's on an up beat, so it's best to strum this with an up strum as well. Now when we get to our C chord, that's again going to be on the 1 beat of the next count, and our G/B again is on that E beat after the 4. So in total, our full chord progression will sound like this. 1 and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and So to recap that, the G/B is always played on the E beat after the 4, and you should be hitting that with an up strum because it's on an up beat as well. So that's it for the first verse. After the first verse we have a break, and for this break section we're going to be using the exact same chords. We'll just be adding a strumming pattern to this now. Now our strumming pattern is going to go something like this. Down, 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 up, up, down, up, down, up. Now up here in the annotations you'll see chords within brackets. The brackets just mean one strumming pattern. So if we have 2 chords within one set of brackets, that just means that those 2 chords are within one strumming pattern. So for this E minor to this G/B, that's going to be within one strumming pattern. The point at which you're going to change to this G/B is going to be on those last 3 strums, on the up, down, up. And the same thing will apply to the C to the G/B. And in total the break will sound like this. Down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down. Now that break chord progression and strumming pattern is also used in the 2nd verse and also the solo and the outro of this song. Now there is one slight variation to this break/verse chord progression, and this occurs just before we enter the chorus. So normally we'll have our 4 chords, but for this variation we're not going to be playing this last G/B. So that C chord is just played for one full strumming pattern by itself. So just before we get into the chorus, the break or the verse will sound like this. Down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down. Now we get to the chorus, and the chorus is really easy. There's just 2 lines of chords here. We have D, and then we have E minor for our first line of chords, and we're going to repeat that first line 3 times. And the second line of chords is just D and then C. Now each of these chords is within its own bracket, so that just means that you're going to play each of these chords for one full strumming pattern. We're going to use that same strumming pattern that was in the break and the second verse as well. So the chorus will sound like this. Now rhythm-wise, the only other thing that we need to learn is the outro break that occurs after the last chorus. And it's really nice and easy. There's just 2 lines of chords. Our first line of chords goes E minor, then we have D/F sharp. To play a D/F sharp, you're going to take your index finger on the 2nd fret of the 6th string, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and ring finger goes on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. That's D/F sharp. Then we have G, and then we have G/B. So just take your finger up off that bass note. And then for our second line of chords, we just have C 4 times. Now each chord up here is going to be played for one strumming pattern. This strumming pattern is a little different. It's just down, up, down, up. So you're going to play that down, up once for each chord, and this outro break will sound like this. And then you go back into a verse strumming pattern and end the song. So that's it for the rhythm. Now I'm going to teach you the lead parts that are within this song. Now I will note that all the tab that I show up here will be relative to no capo. You can leave your capo on here because it won't affect anything that you're playing up here on the fretboard. But just note that when I say 7th fret up here in the tab, it means 7th fret overall and not 7th fret relative to this capo. But for the purpose of this, I'm just going to take my capo off. But you can leave it on. Just make sure you're playing the global frets and not relative to the capo. So let's start with the break riff, which is after the first verse. Now for this, we're going to do a little bit of hybrid picking because we're going to be plucking 2 strings at the same time for this whole riff. Now you can just use your pick to pluck the 2 notes together like that. However, I like the sound of using the pick to pluck the top string and then using my middle finger to pluck the other string that needs to be played. So we're going to start in this position here. So ring finger on the 9th fret of the 5th string, index finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. We're going to pluck those 2 strings together. Then our next note is just 2 frets up, same shape, like that. And then we're going to go to the 3rd and 4th strings. We're going to use our index finger on the 6th fret here of the 3rd string and our ring finger here on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Now it's really important that you use your ring finger here and not your middle finger because we're going to need to be sliding up, and it's much better if you use your ring finger for this shape as opposed to using your middle finger and then having to stretch. So we're going to pluck this 6 and 7 position, then we're going to pluck it again and then slide up to 9th and 7th. So now your ring finger will be on 9th fret and your index finger will be on the 7th fret. And then we're going to take this shape and we're going to go 2 frets up to 11th and 9th. And so far we have this. For our next chunk, we're going to start on the 11th and 9th fret of the 5th and 4th strings. You're going to pluck them and you're going to slide down 2 frets. And then we're going to immediately go back to this 9th and 11th fret. We're going to pluck it again and we're going to slide it up. Now your ring finger will slide up 1 fret, but your index finger will slide up 2 frets. So you're on 11th and 12th frets. And then for our next pluck, we're going to go back to this 11th and 9th fret. So that chunk in total, slide down, slide up, and then back to this original position. We have one more pluck on this line, and we start on the 9th and 7th fret of the 5th and 4th strings. We're going to pluck this and slide down to the 7th and 6th fret. So your ring finger slides down 2 frets, your index finger slides down 1 fret. And in total, the first line sounds like this. Then for our next line of tab, our first 3 plucks are going to be exactly the same. So then we're going to go up to the 7th and 9th fret of the 3rd and 4th strings. We're going to pluck this and slide up 2 frets. Then we're going to go back to the 9th and 7th frets of these strings. We're going to pluck that, slide down to 7th and 6th, and pluck it one more time. And so far for this second line. And the last chunk is going to be exactly the same as what we had in the first line. So back to the 5th and 4th strings, slide down, slide up, back here, and then, which will sound like this. Altogether, the break riff will sound like this. Next, I'm going to teach you the riff that happens after the first chorus. It's really nice and easy. We're going to start with the 11th fret of the 3rd string with our ring finger. Then we go to 9th fret with our index. Then we're going to go to 11th fret of the 4th, 9th fret of the 4th. Then with our ring finger we go to the 12th fret of the 5th, 11th fret of the 5th, 9th fret of the 5th. Then we slide this down to the 7th fret of the 5th, and then we go back up to the 9th fret of the 5th. And all together. And then for the next section, it's almost identical with the exception of the last 2 notes. So from this 9th fret of the 5th string, instead of going down and then back up, we're going to just go up to the 11th fret and then 12th fret. So in total, this post-chorus riff sounds like this. Now in the solo section of this song and in the outro, we have that same riff but just played an octave higher. Now to play this an octave higher, you'll start on the 14th fret of the 1st string with your ring finger. Then we'll go down to the 12th fret with your ring finger still. Then you're going to go down to the 9th fret. Then the 12th fret of the 2nd string, 10th fret of the 2nd string, 9th fret of the 2nd string, 11th fret of the 3rd string, 9th fret, and then back up to the 11th fret. So that section. And the next chunk is exactly the same with the exception of the last 2 notes. So from this 11th fret on the 3rd string, we go back up to the 9th fret of the 2nd string and then 10th fret of the 2nd string. So in total, the lead in the solo section and in the outro sounds like this. So now I'm going to be playing through the whole song in its entirety, and I'm going to have a vocal track on top for some context. So feel free to play this back as many times as you'd like to practice, play along to, and see how you go. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to head over to guitarzerotohero.com to pick up my free guitar ebook. If you've enjoyed this, then hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you click the notification bell as well so that you don't miss out on any updates. Leave your thoughts, comments, questions, and requests below, and I'll see you guys next time on Guitar Zero to Hero. Cheers.